G'day everyone, Martin here from Therapeutic Cannabis Vaporizers. I'm just going to explain to you the therapeutic benefits of using a glass bubbler in conjunction with a Mighty Plus Medic or a Volcano Medic 2 vaporizer. Heat is the big variable when it comes to cannabis. THC is the oil that's spread throughout the cannabis flower. Now THC in its original form has zero psychoactive properties. So in other words, if a patient were to get some cannabis flower straight from their tub and put it into the mouth and swallow it, nothing is going to happen to the patient. And that is because you need to apply heat to decarboxylate or activate the THC. Now, decarboxylation begins to happen at a very, very low temperature. And if you were to apply very, very low temperatures, it will take quite a long time for the THC to completely decarboxylate. If you increase the temperature, it then takes a lot less time for the decarboxylation process to happen. Now, decarboxylation happens instantly when a patient is smoking cannabis because the flame on the cigarette lighter is the heat source. Now, that flame burns at about 600 degrees Celsius. So when that flame is applied directly to the plant instantly combusts. The byproduct of combustion is smoke, and smoke is carcinogenic and extremely poisonous and dangerous for humans. So we do not want patients to smoke their cannabis flower because that is extremely destructive for their health. That is why we have devices like the Mighty Plus Medic vaporizer along with the Volcano Medic 2 vaporizer. These devices are designed to heat the flower up, to activate and decarboxylate the THC, but to avoid combustion. Storz & Bickel, the manufacturer, has worked out and programmed these devices to a maximum of 210 degrees Celsius. So there is absolutely no chance, there is zero possibility of the flower combusting inside a Mighty Plus Medic vaporizer. However, when it gets to the vaporizing, patients can vaporize anywhere from beginning to about 170 degrees all the way up to the maximum temperature. The hotter you go with the temperature that's being applied to the THC, the more compounds are being activated and released, and the bigger the impact the patient receives from the medication. The danger point though is combustion, and obviously, as I mentioned, we don't get to combustion with these devices. However, most patients will not be able to vaporize at 210 degrees Celsius comfortably to begin with. And that is because the vapor that is being inhaled is actually oil. It is a THC oil vapor. It is mixed with terpenes and cannabinoids and flavonoids. The entire spectrum of the medicinal plant is being vaporized and inhaled, but that vapor is an oil vapor. And at 210 degrees Celsius, most patients will actually find that irritating on the throat, and it will start to burn and tickle the esophagus and the airways. Glass bubblers serve a wonderful therapeutic benefits to patients who like to vape at 210 because they like the medicated effects. However, they don't like the irritated feeling of vaping at 210. Now, a glass bubbler serves many, many purposes. This is the mega cylinder bubbler from Sydney Vaporizers, and I'll explain how this works with the Mighty Plus Medic. Now, the glass bubbler would be filled with water to about halfway, enough to cover all the air intake holes. The water acts as a stabilizer. It keeps the bubbler quite stable on the desktop. This bubbler has three air intake holes at the top, all of them which are 14 millimeter. Now, it also comes with a glass downstem, which is a 10 millimeter, and a glass stopper for the 10 millimeter glass downstem. But for this instructional video, we've set it up exactly the way it's designed to be. It comes with a 14 millimeter water pipe adapter, which goes into the 14 millimeter female connection point, and it comes with a silicone hose. Now, the other end of the silicone hose we've attached to the lip piece of the Mighty Plus Medic. And once that is set up like that, it is a completely sealed airtight unit. The patient will then heat the device, the Mighty Plus Medic, up to the maximum temperature of 210 degrees. And at 210 degrees Celsius, the patient is activating the most amount of compounds in the plant and is getting maximum effect, medicated effect from the THC. The patient can then inhale through the mouthpiece, and as the patient inhales through here, it is drawing the vapor down through the silicone hose, which then goes down through the stem and goes straight through the water. The moment that the vapor hits the water, the vapor is instantly cooled to the temperature of the water. So it comes out of the vaporizer at 210, give or take, but once it comes out of the glass bubbler, as soon as it hits the water, it is instantly cooled to approximately 20 degrees Celsius, the temperature of the water. Now, a patient can inhale and probably take 3 big inhalations through this mouthpiece before the vapor is actually being put into the lungs. And that is because this is a vacuum. And as the patient inhales through here, this glass bubbler is being filled with the vapor. And as I said, the patient can probably take 2 or 3 big inhalations, which fills the bubbler full of the vapor, and then with one big hit, if you release this glass stopper, it then forces the cold air down into the bubbler, which forces the vapor back out through the mouthpiece and into the patient's lungs. The end result being the vapor that comes out the end is cool, it tastes wonderful, and it is pleasant. It does not irritate the throat, but it has all the medicated properties because it has been decarboxylated at the maximum temperature of 210 degrees inside the Mighty Plus Medic vaporizer. So the big therapeutic benefit of using a glass bubbler in conjunction with the vaporizer is to take out the heat, which causes irritation and which causes damage to the airways. By doing this, a patient is able to get the maximum benefits of the THC being heated to the maximum temperature, but alleviating any of the irritation or the problems in the throat. Another big benefit of this particular vaporizer is what I've just mentioned, creating that vacuum and allowing a patient to take 3 or 4 big inhalations and filling the vaporizer with vapor and releasing it in one go. The alternative way of using the vaporizer is just inhaling through the mouthpiece, but by taking small inhalations, it works wonderfully, but by doing it with a bubbler, the patient's able to release a large volume of THC all in one go into the lungs. Another little benefit onto the side is if you have a patient that comes in and they are used to smoking bongs, and a lot of patients in Australia are used to smoking cannabis through a bong or a water pipe, and as I've mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is extremely destructive for the health. However, if you can point a patient who is a daily bong smoker to one of these setups and explain to them the therapeutic benefits of using the vaporizer in conjunction with the bubbler, a lot of patients will then go for a setup like this because it will give them the option. It's a very, very similar setup to a smoking cannabis. The effects obviously are very, very different. The overall experience is different, but it is similar, and it will get a lot of patients off using a smoking device like a bong and into using a therapeutic device like the Mighty Plus Medic in conjunction with the Sydney Vaporizers Mega Cylinder Bubbler. The SV's Mega Cylinder Bubbler is available wholesale purchase for pharmacies, dispensaries at therapeuticannabisvaporizers.com.au. It's also available for retail purchase through sydneyvaporizers.com.au. Thanks for watching.